The time is now 5:30, so I will call this meeting of the Plan Commission of September 9th, 2024 to order. First, we'll get some information from our technical facilitator. Jesse?
All right, welcome to our virtual Plan Commission meeting. We're going to cover a few basic items before beginning. If you lose connection at any point during the meeting, you can reconnect by clicking the link or calling on the number in your original email. To members and city staff members, if you are able, please activate your video and keep it on for the duration of the meeting. Staff, if you are able, please activate your video when you are speaking. Use the raise hand feature when you'd like to be recognized to speak or ask questions. Staff, click raise hand when you are asked a question. The chair will do the best to call on committee members in the order in which their hands are raised. Lowering your hand will take you out of the queue. Members of the public who have registered to speak, the name you entered in Zoom must match the name you entered in registration. You will remain muted until called upon. The clerk will tell you when your time is up. After all register and speak, a member of the body may ask you a question. If you need to share documentation with the commission, please send it to the email listed on today's agenda. Chair, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Jesse. First, communications disclosures and recusals. Members of the body should make any required disclosures or recusals under the city's ethics code. Commissioner Solheim.
Thank you. I am recusing myself from items 13 and 14. As part of my job, I have worked with the applicant on a small grant for the Huxley Yards project.
Thank you. Commissioner Sanders.
Thank you. I just want to disclose related to agenda item 4 that I contracted with Rick North to build my home in 2021. That work has since completed and has no bearing on my ability to be impartial.
Thank you. Okay, moving on. I don't believe we have any public comment. Is that correct, Megan? Yes. Okay.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Next, we will go to minutes. We have the minutes of August 26, 2024 regular meeting. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Seeing no raised hands, is there a motion to approve? Moved by Alder Field. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Mendez. I will assume unanimous consent unless I see a raised hand to object. Seeing no raised hand, the motion passes unanimously. Okay, next, schedule of upcoming meetings. There are regular meetings on September 23rd, October 7th, and October 21st. Commissioner Mendez?
Nope.
Did you?
Nope.
No.
Sorry.
Okay. And then there is a special meeting on Thursday, November 7th. The regular meetings will be virtual. The special meeting will be in person and will start at 5 o'clock in room 215, Madison Municipal Building. Alder Field.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to point out for the technical staff that Alder Ugair and Anjali are in the queue as attendees. Perhaps they could be promoted.
Yeah, thanks. I'm working on it right now.
Okay.
Thank you, Alder Field, very much for that. Okay, next we will go to the consent agenda. It is the custom of the Plan Commission to remove from the agenda those items on which staff believes an application has had sufficient review to warrant approval with all of the conditions placed upon it by various city departments on which the applicant accepts those conditions, and there are no individuals who have registered to speak in opposition to the item. They're placed on a consent agenda along with any referrals, and they are addressed at the beginning of our meeting. People interested in those items can then sign off. Unless a member of the Plan Commission requests separation, in which case the item will be removed from the consent agenda and taken in the regular course of business. The following items are recommended for the consent agenda. Agenda item 3, 4, 5, 6, and then for referral, agenda item 7 and 8. And then consent agenda items 9 and 10 for referral, agenda items 11, 12, and referral agenda item 15. Are there any requests for separation? Seeing none, I will read those items into the record. Agenda item 3, Legistar 84686, located at 1018 through 1034 Walsh Road, Alder District 3. Consideration of a conditional use in the Industrial Limited District for a nightclub to allow live music at a private dog park with incidental alcohol sales. Agenda item 4, Legistar 84687, located at 504 East Lakeview Avenue, Alder District 15. Consideration of a demolition permit to demolish a single-family residence. Agenda item 5, Legistar 84811, located at 4602 and 4698 East Park Boulevard, Alder District 17. Consideration of a major alteration to an approved conditional use in the Suburban Employment Center District for a hospital to allow construction of a 120,000 square foot addition to the UW Health East Madison Hospital. Agenda item 6, Legistar 8419, located at 208 East Olin Avenue, Alder District 14. Consideration of a conditional use in the Suburban Employment District to allow a public school tenant in an existing multi-tenant commercial building. And then for referral, agenda items 7 and 8, which are related and should be referred to September 23rd, 2024 at the request of the applicant. On the consent agenda, agenda items 9 and 10, which are related and will be agenda item 9, Legistar 84492, located at 1202 South Park Street, Alder District 13, consideration of a conditional use in the commercial corridor transitional district for a mixed-use building in which less than 50% of the ground floor frontage facing the primary street is non-residential to allow construction of a 5-story mixed-use building containing approximately 750 square feet of commercial space and 44 dwelling units. Agenda item 10, Legistar 84624, approving a certified survey map for property owned by the City of Madison located at 1202 South Park Street, Alder District 13. And then for referral, agenda items 11 and 12, which are related and should be referred to October 7th at the request of the applicant and staff. Agenda item 11 is Legistar 84607, and agenda item 12 is 84010. And then also for referral, agenda item 15, Legistar 83269. I will open the public hearing. There are no registrants wishing to speak. I'll close the public hearing. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? A move by Alder Ugair. seconded by Commissioner Mendez. And I will assume unanimous consent unless I see a raised hand to object. Seeing no raised hands, the motion passes unanimously. Okay, moving on. We are now on agenda item 2, Legistar 84451, located at 225 West Gilman Street, Alder District 2. Consideration of a demolition permit to demolish a 3-family dwelling. First, we'll hear about this from Kevin Furco.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, members of the Plan Commission. As the Chair just noted, before you tonight is consideration of a demolition permit requesting the existing 3-family dwelling at 225 West Gilman Street to be raised. From a contextual standpoint, this subject building sits between the existing Chabad house at 223 West Gilman Street and Lisa Link Peace Park. The demolition is being proposed to allow for an addition to the Chabad house, again, that is adjacent to the site. Initially, when this proposal was submitted, it was believed that the addition was also going to require conditional use consideration from the Plan Commission. However, the zoning administrator has confirmed that because of the size of the addition did not meet the threshold, the conditional use only requires review from the Urban Design Commission and not the Plan Commission. So again, to confirm, the only item before the Plan Commission this evening related to this item is the demolition request, and that's subject to the demolition standards of section 28.185 and noted in Tim Park staff report. If this is approved and the addition comes forward, that will require a separate action from the city's Urban Design Commission. As far as the existing condition of the building proposed for demolition, there's information noted in the staff report. The assessor's information says that the building was constructed in 1910. However, other preservation files that the city has indicate that the building might go back to 1898. As far as the recommendation from the city's Landmarks Commission, as with any demolition, the Landmarks Commission is required to make an advisory recommendation to the Plan Commission before the Plan Commission takes action. And in this case, the Landmarks Commission did make a finding that the building was a contributing structure to the Mansion Hill National Register District, and did note that there was historic value related to its position within the National District. Did want to note that is within the National District. It is not within the city's local district. As a note, national districts are an honorary designation that allow and provide some funding opportunities, while local districts require additional approvals from the city's Landmarks Commission. So in conclusion, there is a recommendation that the building does have historic value from the city's land commission. In addition, there is information in the application materials that talk about condition concerns of the building. There are concerns related to the foundation, to some framing issues, and then other exterior issues that are summarized in the applicant's letter of intent. Based on this information, the Planning Division does recommend that the Planning Commission give careful consideration to all the factors here and make findings related to the demolition approval standards found in section 28.185 of Madison General Ordinance. Staff can be available to answer questions after the public hearing. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. I will open the public hearing, and I note that there is one person registered available to answer questions, Hamad Noghani. Elmwood Avenue, Middleton, in support, representing University of Wisconsin-Madison Chabad organization. Are there any other registrants, Megan?
Yes, Chair. We do have one other registrant that is registered in support but not wishing to speak. Carl Corbett, also on Elmwood Avenue. And we also have a registrant opposed and wishing to speak, Robert Kleba, on East Gorham Street.
Okay, Robert, you have 3 minutes.
Chair, there's no person in attendance by that name.
Okay, are there questions of our registrant who is available to answer questions? Commissioner Solheim.
Thank you. There was mention in the staff report about the standards of relocation, and I wanted to ask the applicant if they had studied the possibility of relocating the building, if they are available to answer that question.
Jesse is our registrant who said he is available to answer questions. Signed in there.
In attendance.
Jesse,
Let's actually give this a try.
Can you hear me?
Is this Hamid?
This is he.
Okay, did you hear the question?
I did hear the question. Thank you very much for that question. It was brought up during our urban design comment and questions. The Chabad is more than willing to donate the building, and we looked at possibility of its relocation. It's complicated. The building is a bloom frame building. It's aging. It's a structural, is in significant disrepair, and there's a central chimney at the center of the building that supports the adjacent framing. So it does create complication. Nothing is impossible. It can be done. It might have to be done into two sections, but it certainly is within the realm of possibilities.
Okay, so if you were interested in donating the building, what would that process look like in terms of listing it or advertising? Have you considered what that may entail?
I'm not so sure, frankly. Typically, these type of buildings, there is some interest in relocating it, and there's a site that can accommodate it. So for the downtown Madison, the single biggest issue is going to be the real estate value is so much higher than and it will just be that much more by the time you relocate the building. And you can only relocate the building, well, reasonably, within some short distances, I assume. So it would have to be of some greater value. You probably could build this exact same building on any lot anywhere for less expensive than what it would take to relocate it. So, I am not so sure. We certainly are more than willing to broadcast the information if somebody is interested in taking it. I'm sure there's some means to advertise it. I'm just not so sure somebody would actually take it, but we're more than willing to do it. Happy to do it.
All right, thank you. That answers my question.
Commissioner Heck.
Thank you. Hamid, I have a couple of questions for you. I see from the city's property records that your organization bought this building in 2017. Is that correct?
I am not so sure. I'm the architect, and Rabbi Mendel is the owner. It was donated to the. I do know that it was a gift to the Chabad.
Okay, I'll assume that information is correct. Do you know about the use of this building since then? Have the apartments been rented out?
Yes, there are student housing. There is student housing,
and
predominantly.
And from some of the pictures that I saw in the, I'll call it condition report that came along with the demolition letter of intent. I'll be honest with you, some of it looked a little rough, but it's currently occupied then, or has been occupied.
Well, as somebody who has lived in a lot of student housing in very old buildings, I can tell you it's no worse than the others. The issue is that you're there as a student, you're there for a very short period of time and probably never in the house, but more than a few hours and when you sleep. So, is it livable? It's in the eye of beholder. Yes, it is livable. It is in okay condition. It certainly meets all the criteria to have a safe and livable environment. What is the problem is that exuberant amount of maintenance that goes into it to maintain it. And these buildings at some point is they need significant tender loving care as a preservation architect I'm talking about. And then you get to a point that then you're putting good money after bad. And I think we have arrived at that decision for this building.
Okay, thank you. Those were my questions.
I'm happy to answer.
Are there any other questions for our registrant? Alder Ugair.
Yes. Could you refresh me on some of the details on the intent? Will there be, in the Chabad house, will there be apartments?
There will not be.
Okay.
And we looked at it initially, I tried to look at it, and it became unfeasible, frankly, from number of comments that we received from urban design. We initially had proposed some apartments, and urban design astutely identified that we are overbuilding the site.
And the source of my question was just an interest on whether, in this sensitive time, whether we were decreasing the number of living units available to interested students.
I hear you. I hear you loud and clear, sir. We did our best. We definitely tried.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Happy to do it.
Are there any other questions for our registrant? Seeing none, I'll loop back to Jesse. Did our other registrant show up on our speaker list?
Nope.
Okay, thank you. Then I will close the public hearing. Are there questions of staff? Commissioner Heck.
Thank you. Kevin, you might have to help me with this. We didn't really get access to all the demolition photos and the narratives surrounding the reasons for requesting a demolition until later this afternoon. They had, I guess, the letter of intent had been replaced with an updated one, and all that information wasn't available. So I wanted to make sure commissioners had seen that. That letter of intent, I think, is where it is now. Let me just double check, because I'm getting to my question. Don't worry. I'm looking at the agenda to make sure that is in there, if it's a separate link. Oh, it's I think included in the letter of intent now, as it originally was before that was replaced. If anybody wants to see that, I think that's correct. Kevin, do you see that?
Yes, I believe the conditions information is within the letter of intent file on Legistar.
Okay, great. And my question is, because I kind of had to look at that, it's sort of at the last minute, I thought I saw a reference to perhaps the applicant. I mean, they weren't proposing, keeping the facade of the old building. Maybe there was just a passing reference to design, including references, a future structure, including references to the current building. Did you see that, or am I imagining that?
In the letter of intent with the conditions, I guess the question is,
I'm not sure where I saw that. But I don't think there was ever I mean, we're not considering the future use at this time, but it is, as you know, interesting information when somebody does offer to somehow preserve some aspect of it. We've had various permutations of people honoring buildings, et cetera, but that doesn't ring a bell. Maybe Colin knows.
Colin?
Yeah, I had brought up the materials, and the letter of intent does say the proposed addition will preserve the historic facade and pick up existing materials and horizontal datums from the 2017 edition to create a harmonious and aesthetically pleasing overall facade. So it's
okay. Thanks. Yeah. I'm glad you located that. Thanks for doing that. Sounds ambitious. All right. That was my question. Thank you.
Are there any further questions of staff? Seeing no raised hands, I'm looking for a motion. Alder Ugair.
I move that the conditions for a demolition permit having been met, that we approve the demolition permit.
Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Solheim. Any discussion? Commissioner Heck.
Thank you. I've been struggling with this one. I see similarities to other demolition permits that we've considered, some of which we've approved and some of which we've denied, whether they're in a National Register historic district or a hoped for by some National Historic District. And also I look at recommendation 75 in the downtown plan that encourages the preservation, rehab, and adaptive reuse of sound older buildings that contribute to the district's character. That's for the State Street area, and these buildings are in the State Street area. There's these. This is a very small area that's actually not on State Street, but I've struggled with juggling that along with what I really do see as an exemplary demolition set of demolition photos and discussion of the integrity of the building, and I'll be honest with you, I'm still on the fence. I don't think that this is, by itself, a very important building worth saving. But I do think that because it's a contributing building in the National Historic District, that caution is warranted.
Thank you, Commissioner Heck. Commissioner Solheim. And Commissioner Solheim, I apologize. Usually I ask the... so go ahead. Yeah.
I just wanted to chime in. I agree. I have been challenged with this one a bit as we review it. Similarly, thinking of others that we have reviewed, and particularly because we, cannot technically consider the future use, nor do we see a future use proposed for this. So we're really just considering the demolition and how that aids in implementing our plans. I do just want to, as was noted in the staff report, we have both approved and denied developments that have had the same recommendation or note from Landmarks Commission. And I expect that will continue and is appropriate because every building and the context of every building is unique. So I think we have to consider them with that in mind, and rather than, each project is not going to be ruled the same based on past history. So I am in support of this demolition, but agree that it still is something that I think about as we move forward, particularly in the State Street area.
Thank you, Commissioner. Are there other thoughts, comments, input before we come to a vote? Commissioner Mendez.
Thank you, Chair. I have a question. So about a year or two ago, we approved a demolition a little further northeast based off of them reusing the facade. And they came back and said they couldn't use the facade, and we had to redo the demolition based off of their update. Would this be the same way, since they're saying they plan to use the facade, plan to use the horizontal datums or whatever? If they don't do that, does it have to come back? Kevin, I see you popped up.
Yeah, I think the project you're referring to it was a demolition that was approved on West Wilson Street. Stop me if I'm talking about the wrong project. But that's what this sounds like.
Similar, I think. Yeah.
And the issue with that one was a little bit, I would say, this is a little bit of a different example. That was one where they came in and requested, they were going to preserve portions of the facade, and that was part of their demolition ask, that they were going to leave portions of the facade and then remove other portions of the building. And then when they started to do the work, they determined it was more feasible to take the entire building down. But we were still dealing with demolition. And so that's why we had to, it was noticed and it was approved as a partial demolition. And so that was the difference here. I don't think that because that comment would relate to the proposed future use that the Plan Commission doesn't get to see or get to approve, I don't believe that it would require that if they do something different to the facade, I don't believe that would make that item, for that reason, come back to the Plan Commission. I believe that would still be in the Urban Design Commission's control.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any further comments? Seeing no raised hands, we'll come to a vote, and I will assume unanimous consent unless I see a raised hand to object. Seeing no raised hands, the motion passes unanimously. Moving on then, we will come to agenda items 13 and 14, which are related and will be considered as one public hearing. Following the public hearing, the Plan Commission shall make separate findings and motions on each agenda item. Agenda item 13, Legistar 84619, creating sections of the Madison General Ordinances to change the zoning of property located at 905 Huxley Street from traditional residential urban 2 district to regional mixed use district in Alder District 12, and agenda item 14, Legistar 84629, approving the preliminary plat and final plat of Huxley Yards on property addressed as 905 Huxley Street, Alder District 12. And on this one, we'll hear from Colin Putt. Colin.
Yes, thank you, Chair Zellers. So before the commission tonight, the applicant proposes to subdivide this large lot at 905 Huxley Street into 2 lots via a plat referred to as Huxley Yards. The applicant also proposes to rezone the southerly portion of the lot from TRU2 to RMX for a 50-unit multifamily residential building. The proposed building is a permitted use in the RMX district and is not before the Plan Commission for approval. A separate permitted use site plan will be required for that proposed residential development project. Lot 2 to the north is proposed to remain Zone TRU2 and is currently under construction with a 7-story multifamily residential building. This area has a lot of history for the Plan Commission. In 2022, Zoning map amendment was approved for the larger parcel, generally addressed as 2007 Roth Street. That created areas of Conservancy District, TRU2, and RMX. Conditional uses were approved for a 6-story apartment building on Lot 1 and a 7-story apartment building on Lot 2 of that CSM. A third lot was created for parks and open spaces, as well as other areas. So Lot 2 of that previous CSM is the subject site for that the commission is looking at tonight, because that original CSM actually created 4 parcels. The creation of 2 additional lots out of the existing lot 2 creates a total of 5 parcels by successive divisions within a period of 5 years. And thus they are legally required to subdivide this lot via plat rather than CSM, which is why we have a 2-lot plat in front of us. Staff do believe that the standards for land divisions and for zoning map amendments can be found met, and that the Plan Commission should forward both requests to the Common Council with a recommendation of approval. I do have one note before I finish. There was an addendum to the Plan Commission staff report that was posted this afternoon. The City Engineering Division and the Traffic Engineering Division have revised their recommended conditions of approval and have recommended that comments 8 and 46 of the original staff report be deleted. A planned north-south multi-use path from Huxley Street to Commercial Avenue is required in those conditions, but it does not appear that path is constructible due to some necessary stormwater facilities that lie in its path. Staff do note that recommended condition of approval 45 remains. That requires the dedication or granting of an easement that would allow a 10-foot wide sidewalk along the north side of Commercial Avenue. City plans to extend that path to connect to the existing Demetral path. This would provide an acceptable alternative connection to the future Huxley-Ruskin Street connection that is being constructed to the northwest. Condition 45 would remain. Conditions 8 and 46 are recommended to be removed. And again, as staff continues to recommend approval of these items with this clarification, subject to all the input at the public hearing and all of the other conditions. After the public hearing, I am more than happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Colin. With that, I will open the public hearing. We have several registrants: Kevin McDonald, Wilshire Boulevard, Santa Monica, California, in support wishing to speak, representing Lincoln Avenue Communities, Wilshire Boulevard, Santa Monica, California. Kevin, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. As mentioned, Kevin McDonald. I'm a regional project partner with Lincoln Avenue Communities. Big thank you to the commission members for having us tonight, and excited to share the next phase of what we're calling the Huxley Yards development. So the Conway, as mentioned, will provide 50 units of affordable housing. It'll actually have a mix of both affordable and market rate units, and will provide a different level of affordability and market rents that are not in the first 2 phases of the Huxley Yards development. Really, the reason why we are here today, as Colin outlined, is to really clean up some of the rezoning boundaries that were previously approved, and really to allow for the remaining TRU2 that splits the sites to hopefully be rezoned all as RMX. So next, I think I'd like to turn it over, if I can, to Kevin Burrow from Kenothi Bruce Architects to go over the design details.
Thank you, Kevin McDonald. And next registrant is Kevin Burrow, Greenway Boulevard, Middleton, in support and wishing to speak, representing Kenothi Bruce Architects. Kevin, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you very much. This is Kevin Burrow with Kenothi and Bruce. If you go to the next slide, please. You can see the overview of the Huxley Yards development here. Our site is located in the southern end of this development along Commercial Avenue, highlighted in the middle with the yellow icon. And then the previously approved plans for the development to the north are currently under construction. So this is just the last piece to finish off this western half of what used to be the Oscar Mayer facility, butting along Commercial Avenue. If you go to the next slide, please. The overview of the site plan is shown here. We have access to our site off of Commercial Avenue, and access to the underground parking is achieved off the northern end of the building. We have surface parking along the eastern half, and then enclosed garages on the northern half, and then actually enclosed parking at first floor level for the upper half of the building. And then highlighted in blue to the north was to speak to the stormwater management facilities that need to be installed for this entire development, which is restricting the option of having a path connected north-south. So that comment has been removed from the staff report. And also to highlight, we are creating a buffer between us and the Hartmeyer Ice Arena directly to the west in the area that's highlighted in green to allow the operations of Hartmeyer Ice Arena to continue as they have for many years. But as you note in this plan, their current development does encroach onto this property, but that is going to be allowed to be maintained and remain. And we are doing landscaping screening to provide a buffer between us and the ice arena. We have our outdoor amenity feature then on the eastern side of the building, shown towards the front of the building with an outdoor communal patio area. Next slide, please. So in the floor plan, so the upper slide represents the first floor level where you can see the parking on the right half, which would be the northern half. The main entry to the building is on the southern half or on the left half, where we have a community service facility, our leasing office, and our main entry vestibule as well. And the remaining portions of the building is a mixture of 1s, 2s, and 3-bedroom apartments. And to note, there are 7 3-bedroom apartments that have direct entry opportunity from the exterior to serve large families.
Kevin, you have 1 minute remaining.
Thank you, Liddell. Next slide, please. So just some concept renderings to show the high quality development that's being proposed here. This has been designed in context to the developments to the north, but it has its own look and feel with regards to a strong masonry base element and then composite siding materials for the upper 4 floors. You can see the main entry feature shown in the front of the building here, and then the community area over to the right. Next slide, please. Here's a view of along the side of the building. You can see the community service facility and then all the apartments above. Next slide, please. And then here's a view along the back where you can see the same materials are carried around all sides. And you get a glimpse as to what the design of those freestanding garages are as well. And the access to the underground or enclosed first floor parking and trash room are just tucked around the corner. That was it. Thank you.
Thank you. Right on time. The next registrant is Jennifer Argelander, Erie Court, Madison, opposed and wishing to speak. Jennifer, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. I am opposing items 13 and 14 and requesting that you vote no on these items. If you've actually seen the space, it's not appropriate for children. It's actually rather dangerous, stuck between those ice arena and businesses and railroad tracks. RMX zoning, as is being proposed, would allow an inappropriate construction of a 50-unit family housing with no required safe place for children to play. RMX zoning requires no usable open space and no lot area for exclusive residential use. The zoning map amendment standards must be based on public health, safety, and welfare, and this RMX zoning at this site fails to meet that test. Since the site is now zoned partly RMX and TRU2, it could easily be designated entirely TRU2, which would require 2,000 square feet of usable open space. So if children are going to be allowed to live there, then this zoning should be entirely TRU2. Or another option would be make it adult-only building and allow it to be RMX. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Also registered is Noah Fisher, Wilshire Boulevard, Santa Monica, and support and available to answer questions. representing Lincoln Avenue Communities in Santa Monica. Matt Haas, Verona Avenue, Verona, Wisconsin, in support, available to answer questions, representing Lincoln Avenue Committees in Santa Monica. All the other registrants are not available to answer questions and do not wish to speak. Are there questions for any of our registrants? Commissioner Heck.
Thank you. I'll ask this of Kevin McDonald, and it may be something I end up talking to staff about, but I'll give it a shot with Kevin. Kevin, we see in public comment about that this rezoning is destroying wetland. Can you give us a little background? Some of us remember some of what's happened in this area with your earlier applications. And can you just give us a little background about what you think about that claim?
Yeah, in terms of this site, and Matt Haase is probably the best one to just confirm. I don't recall that there were any wetlands anywhere on this site. I'm fairly positive of that. And, you know, certainly if there were, we would have to work through any approvals from the DNR. But in the past, we did work through some wetland delineations that were a part of the city street extension, and those were all approved. So I can assure you that on this site, there aren't any current wetland concerns.
Okay, thank you. I'll verify with staff, but I suspect that you're correct. I think that's my question. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Are there any further questions of any of our registrants? Seeing no raised hands, I will close the public hearing. Are there questions of staff? Commissioner Heck.
Thank you. I assume this is for Colin. I'll just verify that what we heard from Kevin McDonald is the case for this area at least. And then another question, but why don't you go ahead with that?
Yeah, to the best of my knowledge, any environmental corridors or wetlands that have been delineated have been in the properties or the areas further to the north in this larger Hartmeyer property, and not in this sliver along Commercial Avenue.
Okay, thanks. And then my second question is maybe a more philosophical question about RMX zoning. And certainly many of us were involved in kind of helping to craft what RMX zoning is. But you know, when you hear there is no requirement for open space, I could see where somebody could, you know, think, well, that sounds kind of strange. I mean, there are building setbacks and things like that. Are there indeed no requirements at all for any open space or usable open space?
Yeah, so we need to make the differentiation between usable open space and lot coverage, because there are lot coverage requirements in RMX, and so that means that you can only have a certain percentage of the property that are impermeable surfaces. There is no requirement for usable open space, which is actually the same as everywhere in the transit-oriented development overlay. There is no requirement for usable open space. I think looking at the preliminary plans for this particular parcel, and again, noting that this needs to go through permitted use site plan review. These are not final plans. That they are probably meeting that 2,000 square foot number that Ms. Argelander put out there, that would be required in TRU2. I have not made that calculation myself. I don't know if it actually is 2,000 square feet. But the usable open space definition in the zoning code can be quite flexible, and it is usually pretty easy for applicants to find that amount of space. And I think if we were to take a look at this site plan, it would be pretty easy to find 2,000 square feet.
Thanks. Just a follow-up question. It was nice to see plans for this building that's likely going to be proposed, but as you referred to, they could do something entirely different, and as long as it met the guidelines for being a permitted use, we're not going to see this again at Plan Commission if they stay in that permitted use category. It could be different, probably won't be, but right. And then one more question. I saw you shaking your head yes, so that answered that. And there's a great deal of parkland and conservation land within less than a block of this, I guess the TRU2 portion of it, and maybe a block for the RMX. Isn't that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, those are my questions. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner. Alder Burris.
Oh, yes. So I just wanted to kind of clarify, just for the record and just for the layman's person that's not on Planning Commission and into buildings and so forth. When we're talking about the wetlands, Colin, they're pretty close. So like if an average person that wasn't, into specific planning language, how many feet would you say it's away? And would the general public consider it to be kind of, part of the wetlands? Are you following my question?
Yes. Yeah, I am. I would say that the wetlands are predominantly contained within the large parcel that was created and dedicated and partially purchased by the Parks Division. I think that's about 13 to 14 acres, somewhere in that range. I would say that from the lot one, the proposed lot one of this plat, the southern one along Commercial Avenue, probably 400 feet at its closest point to the wetlands.
Okay. And if I could just ask another question, Chair?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. And so also just for the general public, because it was shocking to me on another project, that when the rules were rewritten for planning in an effort to develop housing, is that there's no requirement for open space. And in certain areas in the TOG district, there's in fact no requirement for parking. Is that correct? So it's not like I just don't want it to be that one side is making things up, because if you start to look at it, you go, oh, wow, we don't need parking, or, oh, wow, there's no requirement for open space.
Yes, there's no requirement for open space in the RMX district, and I believe no requirement for parking in the RMX district. But as I understand it, the applicant is proposing a fair amount of parking for their proposal.
Thank you.
Did you have any further questions, Alder?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Questions for staff? Seeing no raised hands, is there a motion? Alder Ugair.
I guess we need two motions here. So
yes, indeed.
With item 13 on the zoning.
Correct.
I move that The Plan Commission finds that standards for zoning map amendments are met and that the request to change zoning of Lot 1 from a combination of TRU2 and RMX to RMX be forwarded to the Common Council with a recommendation to approve. Subject to all of the conditions listed by the.
Thank you. Seconded by Alder Field. Alder Ugare, did you wish to speak to your motion?
No.
Okay. Are there any comments or insights? Alder Burris.
Yes, and I'm off screen just because like my internet is unstable. You guys saw I left before, so I don't want to do my speech and then have it cut out. So, and if it's okay, Chair, I'd like these comments pertain to 84-619 and then the one right after, which I think is 84-629.
Right.
Is it okay if I give comments just overall?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm the alder in this district, and I did ask for the questions and answers to be included and considered on both of these items. The really question and answer of, a lot of different experts, if you will, going back and forth in the nitty gritty. So that brings me to my point that I want to say about this. When you read what I was sent, there's too many questions to be answered, but yet we can't simply discount or, disrupt or ignore the questions that the community are asking and the questions that, staff ask and alders ask and stakeholders and whatnot. The problem here right now is the city committed years ago to approve this project. I guess it's about 1.5 years ago, maybe in the 3 years total or 4 years, something like that it's been going on. With that, I want everyone to know that it's for the general public, it's the Oscar Mayer area. So they don't look at it as piecemeal, even that it is piecemeal. And whatever is going to be done by whoever leads on this, and right now it's Lincoln Capital, it's going to set the tone for the entire neighborhood and all the other neighborhoods around it. So we don't want this to be another example of what many community members on all different sides, depending on what the issue is, feel that's going on in our quest to infill everything, AKA build intense and dense housing. So while I think in this instance, our energy, because it's already done, we get into lawsuits and it just gets really, really, really messy. I think our energy is best fit for the future going forward. And we do need to do something about the neighborhood concerns. I mean, if you look at the document that I had put in the record, I mean, those are some serious questions, and some of them can be applied right now. Some of them are never going to be applied because they don't apply to us. And then some of them are viewpoints. And then some of them are moot because it was approved. And so I'm just asking the committee in the future to make the process smoother. We want to make the process inclusive again. And we also want to kind of change and flow with the neighborhood because we're all part of the neighborhood at some time. And what happens is if we start getting down on the nitty gritty on every application that comes in for everything, we're all going to spend a lot of time on this. Not that it's not important, but it probably should have been done back when it was approved. Because this is environmentally, overall, the Oscar Mayer area is very clear to everybody. It's environmental hazard and it has to be cleaned up. And also that it's needed for intense and dense housing. But if we're going to house families, we have to be concerned about kids crossing railroad tracks or killing the wetlands or whatnot. So, it ends up spending a lot of time for this commission, residents, developers, stakeholders, alders, and those who we haven't even met yet. So I think we can move forward on this, but I I want to get some of these questions that the neighborhood has answered as we continue to go on. And I don't want to slice and dice it down to the level where the developer, all due respect, says, okay, well, I don't think there's any wetlands on our property. Technically, that's true. But if you just walk down for like 2 minutes, you're in a wetland. So it will be affected. So I think we can do better than that. And we've got to keep coming together. And in the future, we'll do differently, I'm hoping. That's it. I'm sure I went over my 3 minutes.
That's fine, Alder. Any other input or comments before we come to a vote? Commissioner Heck.
Thank you. I wanted to mention that I live in a building that has children in it that has effectively no usable open space. But we have a park less than a block away, and it works. And I think in all cities, that's something that works. As long as you have open space within a short distance, I think not everybody needs a yard, and so I'm not particularly concerned about the lack of open space, usable open space, all those things. I also just wanted to say on behalf of Plan Commission that I think we really have dug into the Oscar Mayer area when we dealt with the more contentious projects by Lincoln Capital, all the rezoning, where the roads were going to be, et cetera, the wetlands. And there was a tremendous amount of talking with the public, hearing what they had to say. There were some compromises on behalf of staff and Plan Commission. And I just wanted to say that I think we have really sliced and diced this area. We should continue to do so. And I think Alder Latimer Burris asked some important questions and making sure we continue to engage on those. But I just wanted to say I think we've done a fine job. That's it.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other comments before we come to a vote? Seeing no raised hands, we'll come to a vote, and I will assume unanimous consent unless I see a raised hand to object. Seeing no raised hands, the motion passes unanimously. And now we do have agenda item 14 and looking for a motion on that. Alder Ugair.
I move that the Plan Commission, finding that the standards for land divisions having been met, that the preliminary plat and final plat for Huxley Yards be forwarded to the Common Council with a recommendation to approve, subject to conditions from reviewing agencies.
Thank you. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Mendez. Did you wish to speak to your motion, Alder Ugair?
No.
Thank you. Are there any comments, input, discussion? Seeing no raised hands, we'll come to a vote, and I will assume unanimous consent unless I see a raised hand to object. Seeing no raised hands, the motion passes unanimously. The next item on the agenda, business by members. Is there any business by members? Seeing no raised hands, we will move to the Secretary's report. Megan.
Thank you, Chair. I'll just briefly note that at our very next meeting, in addition to the items that you would typically have on your agenda related to development review, we'll have a series of informational presentations. We will be joined by members of the mayor's office to just give a briefing to the commission about the city's budget and the budget process for FY25. We're also expecting presentations from our planning staff on the upcoming Southwest and Southeast area plan processes. And you will actually be involved in making a recommendation to the Common Council related to authorizing those plans to begin. And we do expect that there will also be a presentation by engineering related to the city's transportation demand management standards and some updates that they are anticipating making to that. So I'll just highlight those things. The rest of the projects that you have on your agenda are listed under the Secretary's report. And before I wrap up my report, I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you and appreciate Chair Zellers for her service to the Plan Commission and to the city. This will likely be her last meeting with us as the chair. And while I have not been here for a long time and had the opportunity to work with her in the ways that you all have, I can say that I really appreciate her thoroughness and attention to the business of the Plan Commission. And I've really appreciated her welcoming me as a new member of the city team, and really appreciate the support coming into this role. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. And as all of you know, I really have appreciated all of our plan commissioners and the hard work I know you do, and the amazing support from our city staff. So thank you for that. Commissioner Heck.
Thanks. I thought I should say a few words at least. And, I wanted to recognize Liddell's really, I think, transformation of Plan Commission, and her leadership on Plan Commission, I think has really changed the mindset of not just Plan Commission, but City Council, many other agencies other than planning. The quarterly meetings that we're having, I really think are revolutionary for those of us who think about these things fairly often, to actually take proactive steps on policy is so important. And I'm not an alder, but I can imagine that it helps alders to have people like us thinking about these things and working with staff. I just think it's kind of revolutionary. So thank you, Liddell, for that. And I know you're not disappearing, but thanks too for all your mentorship over the last decade plus.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Solheim.
Thank you. I echo all of that and just say it's kind of hard to imagine these Monday evening Zooms without you. It has been so comforting to know that you are always thinking of the big picture and, holding us in our city to a high standard, and we are all better for it. So thank you so much for your service.
Thank you. Alder Harrington McKinney.
Thank you very much. And I'm not on the Planning Commission, but I would be negligent in recognizing I slipped, Chair Zellers. I had the opportunity to sit next to her as a new alder, and the precision and accuracy that she took with everything that came before us as a member of the Madison City Council. She just took those skills and reformed the Planning Commission. And so I would join others, and especially those who've sat in the seat of an alder, to recognize the gem of a person that you have had to lead the Planning Commission. And commissioners, you do an excellent job. It's challenging, but you stay the course, and you stay the course because it is very well prepared, well organized, and you're able to follow that course because you've had an excellent leader. And so, Chair Liddell, I'd like to add my sentiments and join those who will say great things about you. Well deserved. Thank you very much for allowing me to share that time.
Thank you, Alder. Alder Ugair.
So officially, I have not been a member of the Plan Commission for very long, but I've watched it for quite a while. And it gives me comfort to know that for myself, I think for all of us here who've served with you, that as we walk and ride around the city, we're going to see so many things that, like an artist, ought to have an autograph of Liddell Zellers on those buildings. Thank you.
Thank you, Walter. Okay. With that, we are looking for a motion to adjourn. Moved by Commissioner Solheim, seconded by Alder Field, and I will assume unanimous consent unless I see a raised hand to object. And with that, we are adjourned. And thank you all very much. Take care.